So this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and it is storming and raining and stuff here. There's an atmospheric river, and so the internet was down for a day, and it came back toward the end of the day. But it gave me the opportunity to look over some of my stuff that I was doing, as well as I went on about the mom letters, but that has no relevance to this because we can't put those online anyway, so it doesn't matter. What this is about is Transformers, the Transformers. So I went back and I watched last night. I watched the Space Bridge Saga, and then I decided, you know what, it'll be fun to like do a sort of like we did with the 3-hour ones from before with the Trans Tech. It might be fun to go back and kind of edit for only visual content, not change anything, not add anything. Fix the gaffes and gonks that are going, kind of a Lucas kind of thing, but not really a Lucas because you're not adding any effects. To fix the gaffes and gonks of the 3 Trans Tech discrete series. First one being The End of the Circle from 2015. The second one being Transformers Space Bridge, The Bioship Mystery, 2016. And then at last, the Transformers Return of the Shadow Children, 2018. So the 3 precursors to the 3 discrete movies. They were originally aired as 4-part episodes, but then made into movies. Well, the first one was originally 65 minutes, and it was expanded to 90 minutes, to a little over 90 minutes to include the other stuff. That was the End of the Circle. The second one was expanded. It was the same. It was 4 acts, 22 minutes each, totaling part 1 and part 2, adding up to 45 minutes. Another part 1 and 3 and 4, adding up to, adding up to 90 minutes for the Bioship Mystery. And then finally the Return of the Shadow Children, which was intended to be the same idea. 45-minute first act and a 45-minute second act. Ended up being about 60 minutes for the second act, because it was determined this would be it, and it would be the end of the trilogy, and there wouldn't be any more. Yeah, it wasn't the end of the trilogy. But yes, it was interesting going back over the spaceship talk, and I know that there's a Kal Kat thing here going on about other stuff. It's kind of related. It's the archive, but yeah, we were doing the Space Bridge, and I started with the middle one. I started with the Bioship Mystery first. I decided with what's left of our Photoshop 15, I was able to go back, and there were scenes where things were funny with the cameras. I remember that on the 2015 one we had a Canon Vixia 600, and it was a little flaky, and it didn't focus well. So on that one, a lot of the images were kind of far away or slightly down. Odd, slightly down and far away. So mainly with editing going through that one was mainly blowing it up a little bit. Just blow up the picture, maybe center them a little bit. The later one, the 700. That's the but in here that's charging. This is the 800. The 700 had the issue of the left to right thing, which was caused by it falling at one point and injuring the part of the processor that keeps it. The stabilizer is basically a little wonky because it fell. And on this one, it's the focus stabilizer thing. This also fell. but a different thing was slightly off on it. They are a very good camera though. The 700 and 800 still around, so still use them. But yes, before that we were using other stuff on the first season of Space Bridge. We were using ancient JVC tape cameras with Betamax plug-in conversion tapes. On the second Transtech Transtech, we were using second and third. We were using a Super 8 Panasonic camera. Yeah, with the little cassettes that were even smaller, little with a digital processor. We experimented with a later one with a mini DV. It was crap early on in the Transtech 2, and it died. Of course, with the digital processor or whatever, the mini DV, yeah, more to it. But yeah, the 600 was the Transtech camera on the bottom, and those are the main issues. So when we had the 25th, the second one, we had the issues of the characters kind of off to the side or off to the stage right or stage left, and just kind of push them back where they were, center them, zoom in on them a little bit. Didn't change any effects, just went back and centered them. I don't think we need to put these up that have been corrected. There's no reason to do that. Unless you want to put them on one of the other channels, maybe the On Location Cat channel. Here's the corrected ones, because yeah, they are corrected from from a print. It probably was corrected before, so it's kind of like you kind of did this. But this is just an experiment. 6 hours of experiment. So we have another, well, less than 6 hours, because they're all 3 of them are 90 minutes, so it's not quite 6 hours. It's like 5 hours. It's less than that. It's 90 minutes. So yeah, going over that stuff. It was fun that we had cameos by, of course, Mark's Cards, and 2 of my relatives were in it, playing characters. We had so that was fun. And they went on to be on the last part of Chimera, the last half an hour. Now, yeah, so which was filmed shortly after those 2 movies. Last part of Chimera in 2019. After that, then the pandemic thing that happened in 2020, 2021, and then we had plenty of time to do filming and stuff before other things happened. But yet we still managed to do it. Yeah, so that's the overall. That's what, if you were seeing like this behind the scenes thing for these, that's what these would be. I titled even though I didn't change the titles, but I moved them around. There was the Shadow Children one. I moved the title bumpers and the commercial bumpers to the end. It didn't really need those. Didn't have commercials anyway. I made it all one little over 90 minutes. It's like 110 minutes. A little over 90 minutes. That one. And then the other ones are 90 minutes each. We made an alien Hadon in that, who was a James Spader type of character. I believe that's what the voice was. Galvatron and Megatron acting crazy. Prime pretty much in character. Rick Hunter, who was not an imitation of an actual Rick from a former relative thing. That's not my late sister's ex-husband at all. It's not meant to be. I don't know if any of the other nieces and nephews thought it was. No, Rick Hunter is a character from Robotech. He's the main hero in Robotech. Just happens to be named Rick. It's a coincidence. His name is Rick. Max Sterling is the second in command. So it's a coincidence. So we have oh yeah, and there was also reference in this other video to the Requiem Blaster. Yes, it is referenced in Transtech. The Requiem Blaster is in Transtech. Prime whips out 2 of them. Says, I have 2 big deals. He's got 2 of them. And then it's immediately shot by the bad guy. Bad guy, Starbird blows his head right off. And he goes, ah! And he's in a coma. No, he's in a coma at that point. Go ahead. But yes, because that's a reference to G.I. Joe from 1987, where Duke was allegedly in a coma, even though snakes went into his heart. He was obviously dead. He's in a coma because they had to rewrite it, because fans were pissed off that Prime got killed. So they couldn't do that to Duke too. Yeah. So, So yeah, the Robotech meets the Transformers. The Transtech were meant to be sequels, meant to take place after Rick Hunter and crew got home, and it's really jumpy in the first one. It's jumpy right when they get home because I guess I was so excited that I wasn't holding the camera very still. So it's like, and it was just yeah. So I had to like slow down the film, and then keep the audio the same, but slow down the film, and then you can split the audio and video and slow the video down, so that the image was not shaking as much. Didn't want to do too much editing to it because once it was going to completely break the program, but it let me do it. And that was the third one I worked on was actually the last one. I went back to the first one and did the first one, but the last one was done second. Started with Transtech. But yeah, started with the Space Bridge one. Went back to the Shadow, then went on to the Shadow Children, and then went back and said, I might as well do the other one. I did the rendition of the 2020 re-upload, so it should be the same. No need to put it on the archives, but if you want to put it on one of the other channels later, that's fine. But it is a changed version from the original broadcast, so it's slightly improved. It's not really a Lucas because George Lucas, because you're kind of going back. You're not changing the narrative or anything. You're not adding stuff to it. You're just fixing parts where the camera was wonky. That's fine. Fixing where the camera was wonky is fine. I would have done that later anyway. And I probably did do that in a version of it in 2018, but that version was lost. So this version is the other 2018 version. That's not lost. The Space Bridge didn't seem to have any problem with the space battle. It didn't have any problem with really the last 20 minutes. But it was mainly. No, it wasn't space. A lot of the battle scenes were okay in all three of them. They were pretty much okay. They had their distance thing anyway. So if they're right or left, and it's a little wonky with the stabilizer, it doesn't matter because it's a battle. So it's fine. That was the case for all three, really. But what I meant was that the Robotech one was the space battle at the end with the Robotechs was fine because of how it was shot. So it's fine. It didn't matter if the Veritech in the pilot was left or right because they're in space. It doesn't matter. So yeah, fun to see the Regis again. Fun to see that other stuff. Looking back on those stories from 8 years ago or so. Yeah, seeing those. This is what was eventually be a short time later. All Transformers Mush, and Lexicons, and then Robotech meets the Transformers instead of Transtech or Transformers against Robotech later on in 2023. So there's also a slight descriptive error in the archive where it mentions that it's 2021 when Mush 2 happened. It's closer to it was 2020, 2021, and 2022 actually. 2022 is when the other one. But that's okay because half of it that year was for Starship locations. It doesn't matter that in the story of the Robotech thing, you see 2021 they meant 2022. Nobody's going to care. It was in Stranded at Macross. They called it 2021. Well, maybe for them it was. It's fine. Yeah, interesting. The gag Mission College. That's where one of my niece was attending at the time, and Mission College, and it happened to be that the buildings that were used to inspire the construction of the set that was Simultac, in fact, is a building on the property of Mission College. So that's another reason. It's one of the buildings. It's on the edge of the Mission College thing. I don't know if it's directly on it, but it's like near it. And then there's another building that looks sort of like it. It's some of the office buildings opposite Great America Parkway in that area, and Mission Road. And there's a building over there that looks very Simultech-y, as well as by the Mercado Theaters over there that is adjacent to the college. There is another road and building that looks kind of like the parking lot that's in the story. and that's actually the Mercado Theater parking lot. So if you want to go see Simultech, it's still there. It didn't get blown up by the Transformers. You can go and look and go look. So go out to Great American Parkway, Mission, drive up there to where the theaters are. Go out to the theaters, or follow the college road behind the theaters. Follow the college road behind the theaters past the thing, the junior college, and there is they go around the side, and there's the office building that inspired Simultech. It's still there. There it is. Yeah. You kind of would say, oh, it could be the Cisco building, but no, it's not actually. So it's not the Amazon building behind the giant Amazon headquarters building. It's not that. It's not that behind the other thing. That's something else. That's the other thing. The Silver building, Starship locations, destinations, Silver structure building, the student union. It's in that one scene from San Jose State. That inspired, well, and obviously later stuff inspired the one of the buildings in Transtech, including the spaceship and all that. But yeah, interestingly enough, they find a spaceship in it. So if you want to see what the walls of what looks like Draconus Prime's mothership bridge inside it, looks kind of like the walls of that building. If you want to see that, the mothership bridge. If you want to stand on the bridge of the Draconus Prime ship from Great Erosion War Without End, just go to the Student Union in San Jose State and walk inside to the cafeteria part. It's the bridge. That's where it is. But yeah, I want to see the bridge. But yeah, the places that are real places, yeah, like Milpitas Boulevard and being other stuff. But yeah, the Great Mall is very little of it. Yeah, the Great Mall was more of the Starcracker ship thing. Yeah, but that's something else. So, yeah, and the bar in that ship was Tim Cantrell's kitchen. Wasn't a bar at all, but we were probably thinking of like a coffee bar. Like there's a couple of those around. Yeah, sort of an early Starbucks. The Starbucks could or a Pete's or something. Anyway, but yeah, obviously we couldn't film at a Starbucks. Let us do that. So yeah, the Space Bridge thing. That's fun. I wanted to look it over to see if there was anything in there, kernels of ideas, but most of them ended up in Robotech Meets the Transformers later on in 2023. So we already kind of did that. We brought the Regent and the Regis back in a very creative way, and so and we also brought the element of the Dreadwing character back to be in there, wanting to be the Regent again, but nope, he isn't going to be. But yeah, I would often shoot the Robotech characters from the way off on the top, overlooking them in the first two of these installments. End of the Circle and Space Bridge. And the End of the Circle is a very condensed 90-minute version of the Robotech The End of the Circle. The End of the Circle is the End of the Circle, a Jack McKinney book. Very, very condensed, like just cliff notes, pretty much. The part about the Regent wasn't in it, in the book. It was a shadow character that was going after them. There were Zentradi children and Rick and Lisa's children, and there was all kinds of goofy stuff going on. There was like but some of it is from the book, like the part where they find the space matrix thing, and they're inside the thing, and the two simul agents are on top of it, and two of the heroes are on top of it. That's right out of the book. The part where they do the double take and they have to like team up with the Invid to stop the Shadow, that's in the book. Something like the Regent doing thing, that's in the book. So it's similar to the book. And surprisingly, it continues into the other two. It's part of the other two as well. So the whole book was a thick book, but just pieces of it, kind of like we did with Robotech Meets Transformers later on, like that one last year. Kind of like that, because in that one we couldn't actually use the book either, just like we couldn't use the book in this case. Cliff notes from the book ended up with grafted in with lexicon episodes that were about something else entirely, about some bad guy gang members on a planet that kidnapped Dana Sterling and stuff. But yeah, there's a potboiler detective. And originally wasn't Dana Sterling, it was Daniel Witwicky and his children. They completely changed it to Max and his children. And Cowpoke was okay with it, that Max was morally ambiguous in the story. He was okay with it, as long as it was as long as he changes his mind later on. But yeah, we're never quite sure what they would be like. You figure, if he's that smart, he probably isn't all that great at raising kids. He probably isn't. He's probably busy being smart and doing spaceship things. But yeah. But yeah, the idea of bringing Rick Hunter home and doing an adventure and having that happen, doing that story is certainly different and fun. But we did it. And Kal Kat and Mark's Cards. There are some Mark's Cards cameos in that. All three of them have at least one cameo where he shows up. But yeah, so. As well as a sort of veiled reference to Batman v Superman at one point, with the two bad guys fighting each other, and they don't actually say the movie quote. It's misremembered that they said the movie quote about the Martha. What's your name? Your mother's name is Martha. That was the gag in the movie, but they don't. They actually say, one of them says, "What is your mother's name?" And the other one goes, "Oh, it's the Regis." And the other one goes, "Oh, good. Good thing it's not, something else, because then I would have to fight you and then stop fighting." It's kind of what he says. Yeah, it's completely different than what's in the movie. It's sort of a joke on the movie, within the movie, meta sort of thing, robot. There's also a reference to a sort of a bling Matrix thing. When you see the opening scene of the first one. The endless circle. You see this little Pirated Productions logo, and it's a Scorponok with the head from, I think it's from Headstrong or one of those guys. It's his head. He's wearing his head, but he's got the bling of the Matrix from the Japanese Galvatron around his neck. and we put the character in the second one, Space Bridge on the ground, and he takes the Decepticon Matrix and throws it down. And it mass shifts like Astro Train and Soundwave can mass shift, because they can. And doesn't make any sense, but they do. And Blaster does it too. And they shrink down, and they're able to... I'm assuming Broadside does as well, because he's like a carrier. Yeah, they never really explain that. Skylinks doesn't, though, mass shift. He just stays Skylinks. So the Matrix shrinks down, and they say it in the dialogue. He goes, "It's shrinking." "Oh, now it's my size. I can grab it." And then he loses it during the fight. Then Prime stops him. Megatron takes it. But Megatron didn't do much of anything with it. He uses it to stop the Invid, basically. I don't need to do a commentary track on any of these stories because it would be kind of goofy. And that's the yeah, I'm talking about the middle one there. Yeah, the Bioship one. Yeah, there's a Bioship thrown in there that does a bunch of things. There's a Bioship. It was like a yeah, and it was in there because the other one is them returning and having to the Robotechs returning to Earth and having to do all kinds of things involving Endless Circle, involving the returned Regent and his sneaky plan, and they have to find the Regis, help fight the ex-husband, her ex, yeah. So it's a Regent and Regis and thing. Nothing to do with anybody relative at all. It's just that's in the story. That's what the story's doing, and nothing to do with anything. And Rick Hunter has that. Yeah, their alliance is obviously screwy because it's the bad guy, but yeah, it's not going to work too well. But they managed to defeat the main bad guy, defeat him. But that's the premise of the first one, and you have them taking the power matrix or the ship's power matrix and bringing it back and taking it and doing things like that. And the ship's power matrix had disappeared off of the ship after the Transformers helped them. Right? So where did it go? So in the second movie, Transformers Space Bridge: The Bioship Mystery, said matrix that disappeared appears on Earth in Simultech's rebuilt facility. The Constructicons have been rebuilding it, and that's from the other movie. So Matrix. There's the power matrix. Now the Decepticon matrix is different. It's on Scorponok in the city. They've left the dead Scorponok, Evil Darkness version of Scorponok in the city. They got to go and find it and get it back. They got to have a big boss fight with the two robots. You know, they got to have the giant robots fighting. Even Robotech, even Macross, Frontier, and Delta and 2 have done some sort of a mecha fight, big giant mecha fight. But mainly Delta did an SDF fighting an SDF, which was better than the one in Macross 2 fighting an SDF. But there was one in Macross 2. Somebody wrote it. No, they did that now. Just that nobody likes Macross 2. It was a little strange. Yeah. It's not Robotech the movie, but it's pretty strange. I kind of liked elements of it. I like the idea of the Marduk having their own Min-May song. That's kind of fun. It could be tied into the Mega Road. I mean, it could fit in that canon somewhere. But it's after everything. It's in 2080. It's way off in the future. Yeah. So it could be canon with all that stuff if it's after Delta and Frontier and all that. And Planet Eden is actually up to Tyrol. They've renamed it Tyrol. But yes, and that could fit in the other Macross Plus. It isn't really, but in the weird canon of different timelines they encounter in Space Bridge, that's what happens. The Shadow Children is the third one, where we have it's because the Invid lady, the queen, mentions the Children of the Shadow, assumes it's the Veritex with the synchro cannons that are attacking the Hive, and the final battle of the Invid on Earth, Hive thing. You also have thrown in there. You have B.D. Edwards and the Regent, sort of our thing, like in the final book, Rubicon from the books. It's kind of like that. It's the part that Tim Cantrell wrote years ago. He didn't write in a part where where Lisa Hunter loses her child and there's cancer and hysterectomy, and he didn't write that part. Put that in there. That's from the Tommy Yoon books, but it was a battle that did it. But I thought that was a little messed up in the battle in the Tommy Yoon books, so I was like, no, it wasn't that. It was that it was dead. Yeah, the baby was not dead. Yeah, it was just a coincidence. She gave birth and it was dead. So that makes more sense. It was not the battle that would do that. The ship's fully armored. Why would the sick baby where they could get hurt? Yeah, so it was something else. Something was wrong with the delivery. Yeah, that makes more sense. Maybe Rick Hunter's motivation being, I'm going to go down and fight the bad guys, a little different than it would have been in the movie. It would have been more revenge, and I didn't really want to do revenge. If the other guys, the bad guys, got revenge on his mind, why should the hero have revenge on his mind too? It's a little strange. So I said, no, something else happened, and then it sets it up to Roy, the appearance of Roy Hunter, who's played by Sheila Booth's character, action figure. Also, Reinhard is played by a Harrison Ford action figure from which is funny, from both of them from the 2006 Indiana Jones movies. But yeah, that's goofy stuff going on. Also, the character of Scott Bernard seems to be the guy that was run over in the Transtech movie, but he's also the guy who plays President Spurs in Transtech in all Transformers Push, because he looks a little like a certain other president, ex-president. So yeah, they make fun of him in that one too. But yeah, it's a different guy now. Attinger from the movies, who is basically me, appearing from Transformers Extinction. I wasn't in Transformers Extinction, but they're totally thinking of me. But it's got to be who that was. The other guy is Yeager. The other guy's named after John. He's right, martial arts. He's named after martial arts. It's literally, he's acting like our friend Jim, or Jim Chacon, Jim Buffkin. But it's John. It's John. This is who it is. Horse carts. It's clearly who it's supposed to be. Yeah, they got it mixed up because they had like the the daughter character who's actually a niece, not a daughter, that was in the trans text. So Michael Bay got it all wrong. But at least the Attinger is in it. But the Attinger, what's fun about Attinger is that was during the CA Channel Awesome period. So one of the Channel Awesome Channel CA people is Attinger in that story. It's Brad Jones. Actually, it technically isn't, because that would be making it up. It's lines from Brad Jones movies thrown in there. He did a lot of the other version of the Nostalgia Critic. He was the other guy. He was the yeah. Why can't I think of the guy? He's the cinema snob. He's the other guy. Yeah. It's the other dude. Yeah, he's the other guy. So he's the Stone Gremlin guy, and his lines are used in it without permission. But yeah, he had to actually, back in the day, he had seen it. He watched our little fan film, and he was like, I couldn't watch most of it. He said because of the flashing lights you put in it. Oops, sorry. I saw some of it. I saw my character. That was funny. Kung Tai Ted was a G.I. Joe. Who knew? He knew. Yeah, he was basically a hard man from G.I. Joe. Yeah, that's basically who that is. It's Kung Tai Ted. Same guy. That's who that is. Yeah. So also we have the clever idea of the Queen Lady shooting there's like two Rick Hunters. She goes back in time to 2018 and shoots the younger Rick Hunter, which makes the other one disappear to the other realm where they meet the Shadow guy. There's a lot of goofy stuff going on, but with the Shadow Children one, they're on the bioship, which has malfunctioned during the course of the middle episode, the darker middle chapter with the Decepticons. So where they go back to 2016 from 2040 something in the second one. This one they go back to 2018 and mess around a little bit later. And that leads to the timeline that is Transformers Transformers Mush timeline. Follow up on those particular Robotech people, the younger ones that are in there. Which really technically wouldn't be younger, because it would be 2018. It would be the Robotech War would have happened in 2012. It ended in 2012. The first Robotech War. The Robotech Masters War would have been 2029. It would have been later. So 2029, 2030. And Invasion would have been 2040, 44, 41, 42, somewhere around there. So technically, it's before and after. And also, the Shadow Lord guy was one of the giant Galvatron mecha. They have made TJ Omega on this other guy on this other channel mentioned like Megatrons like they ever made a Super Megatron. Some of them have. Also, Emgo the Freaking Geek mentioned he did a review of some of the Super Megatrons. Other toy lines have done Super Megatrons, but they did do a legitimate Super Megatron and a Super Galvatron. And they did them in the Transformers line, Transformers Cybertron. There was a Galvatron and a Megatron. They were Power Master class sized, leader class, like big Megatron and Galvatron. And yeah, they were. I consider them to be Power Master versions of them. Of course, Tim thought it was kind of ridiculous. Now he's a Power Master, but okay, but yeah. So they've done it. And this was one of the guys in the story. There's a creature of light and a creature of darkness. There's a Prima in it. He's a Prima. He's like the first Prime, the Prima. That would make him primary. That would also make them primary. It would also make him Solus Prime. It would also make him or the spark of Solus Prime. So actually it ties into the later stories. Into this other thing on the TV here. Ties into that. Because if he's the inspiration for the Vector Sigma and Primus and Unicron and Tornadron and all that later on, if he's the inspiration for that, that's kind of cool. Well, it's a little convoluted though, because The 13 primes weren't around yet. It was they were referenced in the Michael Bay movies at that point, but in the story they weren't around in our fan films yet. So they're kind of like retconned into it, because sure. Yeah, Alpha Trion's not supposed to be a prime. He's listed as one, but he didn't bear the Matrix inside him. He just had the Matrix with him, so he's not a prime. So take him off the list. He's not a prime. He just had the Matrix. It's between primes when Optimus Prime is born. So the guy before him was. You could say it's Alpha Trion, but it's probably not. And Vector Prime having time powers is kind of goofy, but I suppose he has prime powers. There was also one with premonitions. That's goofy too. Why not just make them have like prime abilities that they're just like heroes of old and stuff. They don't necessarily have to have a specific power. It's kind of oh well, very Marvel-y. That's fine. But yeah, so we have that guy who appears in there and does the Children of the Shadow thing, and they have the Shadow Lord and Rick Hunter, who's been blasted. He's been shot. But it's all the bioship. The bioship's messing with him. So the entire 2018 scene, you could interpret it as the bioship is in the future. It has them, and it's showing them all this. And although at the end they imply that no, the Transformers were going to help them out because they were involved with the bioship and they came to help the Hunter crew. 2048 at the end. So it wasn't just a dream. It was a multi-user shared hallucination. They all knew what was going on. It didn't actually kill them. They all came back. It's a multi-user shared hallucination. And that's what Alt Transformers Mush is too. Multi-user shared hallucination. That's what it says. Well, I think that's the gag. It's a shared hallucination. It probably means a service host, but shared hallucination sounds so much better. Service host. Yeah. Server hub is probably what. Yeah, server hub. But yeah, it's a mush. It's a mush because it's totally mush. Yeah. So the Space Bridge stuff is awesome. I like going on about it, and about that new slightly edited version, which I guess I could put up on the On Location Catch channel later on. That'd be fine or something, but it is not a premonition. It's not a portent of things to come or anything like that. It's just that I thought I would do that to test the limitations of the older program we're using as the program, and it seems to work. So in testing that, it seems to work. Yeah, so I enjoyed the thing, and yeah, it's I probably mentioned the primes in that little thing here video. Yeah, so yeah, there's nothing new. Although I did make some ship designs in there. There's some cardboard arriving for a possible rebuild of a set, but we will see. There's no sets, so we have to put sets back together on the cheap, very cheap on the cheap. Can't do anything. Yeah, it's gonna be extremely cheap, so it's on the level. Yeah. So there's instead of full on boxes that are already put together, no, flats that are cheap. So we shall see what happens. Yeah. I do want to come up with a script or something, and I'm sure that there will be a character, or at least a story idea, that is in the tradition of my mom's writing style, but it will not be anything from actual journals. It will be the writing style. So, kind of like I already kind of did that with a Dax character in Star Trek. It was kind of like that. With the Janeway character in the other one, or something like the Kira character, more like the Kira character. So yeah, there's writing style. So, yeah. I always like those mystery stories. I'm not quite sure what the direction of future stories would be. Can't spend any money. Gotta do it on the cheap. Like these were. The trans texts were not expensive. Here's our own guys. Don't buy any new ones. And they're on the cheap. We're probably not going back to Carta. We've kind of done that with all Transformers Mesh. And even if we did, we would use Transformers to play them. I'm thinking like a small crew going on a mission kind of type of thing. Similar to how Lexicons was done. That could be the same case with a Star Trek story. You could do a small crew on a small ship going on a mission to somewhere. You could do the last Roundup story if you really wanted to. Yeah, I mean, but it would have to be interesting and good and different. Yeah, original. Yeah, probably no more Lexicons stories cribbed from the internet, just because those were all very old stories. The newest one was a 2006 story from the Robotech one. But none of those were new. None of them. But almost 18 years old for them. but yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a T.L. Aarons one, but it was like I don't know him, but he did a lot of very strange stories. We included some of his stuff in the Robotech thing, including his popular detective. His potboiler detective, Tulumsky. Yes, he's thinking of Matlock, probably. But yeah. And what was fun about her is she was one of the in this version she's one of the. There was a Ferriman Tulumsky and Allison Strawberry. They're all three clones of Allison Strawberry. In this other timeline, the Andrade cloning technique was used to recreate Allison Strawberry. So even though the other guy died, they recreated her. She's not a robot in this one. She's a clone. Also, they could have cloned Bree out of the memories or whatever they really wanted to. Bree McLeod in the story as well. They wanted to. There's also other characters that could show up. Oh yeah, I was trying to mention. Now I remember what it was. I was trying to mention like when the darkness and the light guys are fighting each other. The shadow giant Galvatrons. They're arguing and then they fight, and then the giant cities fight. Sort of a rematch of the giant city fight from the middle episode. They fight in the third one. So, a rematch. Yay, wrestling. Yeah, they like that. It is a favorite episode. This one is another favorite. The Shadow Children is another favorite. Anyway, so we have Galvatron basically telling the Regent, bad guy, Spark guy that's in the in Dreadwing. Yeah. By the way, this Shadow Children thing was just made up. And the other guy reiterates it. He says, "Oh yeah, that Edwards and the other guy revived in the other universe, and they're in the dimension. They're trapped in the perdition, wherever they're probably all in the bioship. They're probably just memories, but they're not really shot. They're just in the bioship's memory bank. They're in the Tesseract, they say in the story. So it's like Interstellar a little bit. So they're in there, and they're doing their thing. And he says, "Oh, that was just an excuse for the Invid to be prejudiced and racist. Like anytime they got taken over by a group of other alien beings that were trying to take them over, the Invid would be like, no, it's the children of Shadow that are doing it. It's not really a thing, even though the bioship sort of made them a thing, because the bioship is an artificial intelligence, and yeah." Bioship was always this goofy like toy, and so in this version it's not a toy, but in this version we built the Bioship. So yeah, we got to the end of we were building the Chimera models for the Starship locations. Had a lot of pieces left over. We overspent and overbuilt on all those early back in the day models in the 2016 2017, and so we had a lot of pieces left over. Slapped all the pieces left over. Built this enormous, gaudy looking spaceship thing, long spaceship. It's about good 2 feet long spaceship, and it's got like a hollow through the inside we built the bioship. There's the bioship. It was on a shelf for many years in a box and a shelf. Now it's in a box again. But also, for Robotech Meets the Transformers, we overspent on that one too. In 2021 or so, 2021, 2022, there were other projects going on while doing Transtech and the other one, the studio thing, and I think at that point most of the Transtechs were done in that particular studio. So in the other studio, we're slowly putting together a new SDF3A model, which ended up being a little over 2 feet. And weighing a lot. It weighs about like 20 pounds. It's heavy. It's all wood and it's done up in gewgaws and everything. It's really, really ambitious in it. And it took like 6 months. And it's like this really, really super ambitious model. It's really awesome. And it was upstairs, and then it was down here for a while. It was in the other room for a while. It was finally, we filmed it for the Robotech Meets the Transformers. I got to film it. It also appears in Starship Chimera, Starship Destinies as well, along with the bioship. The bioship is the generation ship found in the other story as well. So in the Starship Destinations, we reuse the same model. It reappears as an alien ship. So it's cool. And sometimes pieces of a set that they're going to base, or because parts of it on the hull look like little bases and things. It's very elaborate. Yeah, that was back, when we could spend that much money on making one of those things. A lot of the wood was actually not that expensive. The wood wasn't expensive. It was like, couldn't be balsa. It was basswood and stuff. It wasn't. But it was a splurge, and it was in 2022, and it was like, yeah, we kind of had to do that. But the spaceship models for the fleet of a dozen or so ships, 12, 13 ships that were built for Starship Destinations to be the fleet that were built over there at the Chimera channel. Those were actually on the cheap. Except the paint sets are like about, I think it's something like $30 for the whole paint set. It lasts a long time. Half the old paint sets left. We used it on a prop for a Halloween. They used up a lot of it. But it was all there. It was all paint set. Painted the figures and then stripped all the paint and painted the figures again for the Star Trek figures. And we had like paint set, yeah, and the sets. The sets for the Blessings Deferred novel were bought at Home Depot as cardboard boxes that were ripped up. $12 for the whole thing, whole set. It looked like $12 though. You want to spend a little bit more if you're going to rebuild some of the sets. So a little bit more than that was spent on the new ones, but they'll. So we'll see a little more because we wanted the new ones to last a little bit. So yeah, but it's not going to be like, oh, we have like a whole huge box full of all sorts of little things. We kept all the little furnitures and walls and smaller things in a container, so we kept all that stuff. Stuff that was falling apart we got rid of. So what I was saying is the fleet that comprised the space fleet in 2023 from the Destinations, the spaceship fleet. Most of that wood was purchased at the dollar store. So we did not splurge on that wood. Those models are really, really cheap. They're in the box. They're in a couple of boxes, but they're really, really cheap. They'll probably be in pieces the next time we go in the boxes. Unless if anything happens, they're real cheap. That wood was not expensive. Yeah, that was not a splurge. The SDF3, that was a splurge, but that was earlier. But yeah, that thing is actually hard to film. It's heavy. Also, the cats inherited the ship set, but I can wash it, I guess. It's in the cat thing. But yeah, that's my thing on Transtech. I didn't see. I wanted to look them over just to see whether there's any plot threads that were left behind. and except for the Roy thing, which gets changed in the new version to Roya, it's actually Minmei's child and not Rick's. Yeah, that got changed. So in the other series, so it's a slightly different universe. It's all a multiverse. It's all slightly different. And Marvel doesn't know how to do a multiverse, but we do. This is Transtech. We know how to do a multiverse. Yeah, when you want to do a multiverse of a story, the key to the world building there is don't over-explain it. Which, for somebody with autism, is kind of hard to do. Don't over-explain it. Yeah, don't narrate the heck out of it. Make your story just like, okay, this is an alternate universe. It's not the universe you knew. Something has changed. Go from there. So this isn't necessarily the Robotech universe that you knew, or the Transformer universe you knew. It's a slightly different one. And that's what we've been doing the whole time. And it works, because then you're not have any expectations. You subvert them. Don't have expectations about where that's going. Like Lexicons, the final season over there was like, oh yeah, and then the twist ending is really cool, unlike the twist ending in certain recent movies involving. There was a spy movie that just came out there for the twist ending there, where the twist ending is stupid. Yeah, it's Argyle. Same of the movie. I haven't seen it, but it's really obvious from the trailer that's what's going on. So the twist ending is not a shock or even a twist. And they're like, spy. It's like, well, yeah, the twist ending is they're actually spies. It's in the trailer. It's given away. Ooh, shocking. Ooh, only problem is it's impossible. The twist ending doesn't make sense. It's almost a Shyamalan twist. It's like, well, first of all, why would a... It's kind of the same idea with Show Don't Tell as well. Why would a spy be allowed to be a writer that just has memory loss? It's kind of what that's the gag. It's evident in the trailer. It's not really a twist, if you can tell. So, no, she's not a spy, because obviously they wouldn't let her do that if she was a spy. Be a really, really famous. Yeah, that would be dumb. I'm a spy, but I'm a star. Yeah, it would be like if Stephen King was actually a creature from another dimension. He was like, oh, what? Okay, no, you can't do that. But you can have a Robotech story with Transformers G.I. Joe action figures if you suspend disbelief. If you say, okay, this is someone's interpretation of it. This is somebody who really, really liked the premise of bringing Rick Hunter home, even though it had nothing really to do with the original Robotech. They just threw that line in there, the beginning and the end of the Invid invasion, to connect the Invid invasion to Southern Cross and the other one. Or the Japanese version of the In-Bit invasion, or Space Climber Matsupita, never mentions Rick Hunter. Not even once. Expeditionary Force, yes. Rick Hunter, no. Not once. So the part where Scott Bernard takes off to go home, he's just going back to Mars. That's all. Going back to Mars. So the other books, the American book, try to take off on that. We tried to take off on that. The Japanese did not intend for that to happen, and even the middle one, even Space Cavalry Southern Cross, was not meant to be Dana Sterling. It's some other name, like Pierre Nightingale or whatever. It's just a different lady and doing different things, and it's on a different planet even. Liberty is the planet they get Space Station Liberty from. It's the planet. That's the planet there. That's not supposed to be Earth. It's Liberty. With an I. So yeah, now the In-Bit invasion is Earth in that one. And it is supposed to be South America in that one. But, and North America is where the hive is. But it's different people. It's Jupiter section and Mars section. Mars division is sent in first, and that's Scott Bernard, and then Jupiter section comes later. At the end. Jupiter comes in to try and save him. And the space Robotech ship, Merlin and all that. It's all different series. different placement. But if you have a fan film and you want to cover the American Robotech, sure. Bring Rick Hunter home. The end of Transformers Robotech in 2014, and continue doing shows about that. We could totally do a Robotech continuation story taking place during the time of well, that would be Macross, and in terms of the timeline, it would be Macross Frontier at this point. But we're not going to do Macross Frontier and Macross Delta, no. But you could do something similar. You'd have a Rick Hunter episode that takes place in 2050. 2050, you kind of have to kick it ahead a little bit. So it'd have to be like 2054 or so. If you're going to do that. Have it be like a Rick Hunter adventure story. Just for fun. That'd be cool. Another one, yay, on the SDF-3A, yay. Let's find out what happened to him. There were a few cut scenes from the other one that made it. Mostly homaging the other stuff. Like there was an extended Dana scene. Future Dana meets younger Dana. Extended pullback time warp scene. Rick Hunter meets himself from the future scene. There was an extended Min-May concert scene at the end. That type of stuff. And it was just a little too long. It was over 3 hours. It was 3 hours and 10 minutes. The program didn't like it. Kind of fried it. So 3 hours, we cut it down to 3 hours, took the 7 minutes out, left them as little scenes that were not really necessary. There was one where they joke about the guy being hate on formerly and stuff like that. That didn't necessarily need to be. But yeah, the story was pretty much over. So yeah, they got to do a Min-May concert. Even though in this timeline, Min-May didn't end up being a singer. Min-May did something else. They had their timeline. It's a completely different timeline. If the two timelines met, that'd be interesting. Yeah, the Rick Hunter timeline meets the other one. That kind of already did that a little bit though, so that would be screwy. But the Dana's meeting and stuff, future timeline. Yeah, originally the script of Robotech meets the Transformers, which was 2023, just recently, a couple of months ago. Originally in the script, they were going to actually have discovered that the time warp had screwed them all up, and they were like way off in the future where they really shouldn't be, and they were going to show up, and the adult Dana part was the end of the movie, and there was no concert and all that other stuff. It wasn't they had scenes with the robots left behind on the Cybertron planet. There wasn't a scene showing the ending where the Decepticons are pulled into the dead universe. That wasn't in there originally, and then it was taken out. It was put back. Parts of it were put back, but I felt that I didn't like that ending when we were filming it. I was like, I don't like the idea of them having to be stuck in the distant future. Can't there be some way to kick them back just a little bit so it's closer to 2045, 2046? Just because it's a little awkward. Can't they be pushed back a little bit? Because, and they did. So anyway, so yeah. That's